Readings of Almighty God's Words. Exposing Antichrists.
Item 15. They do not believe in the existence of God, and they deny the essence of Christ. Part 1. In the process of believing in and following God, notions always arise in antichrists about God's identity and essence, and they always question why God only speaks and does not show any signs and wonders. Although antichrists also read God's words, their intention is not to seek or accept the truth. Instead, they read them with a mindset of studying and deliberation. As a result, they not only fail to develop genuine faith, but instead become more doubtful and harbor more notions about God incarnate the more they scrutinize. Their main notion is they believe that Christ should possess supernatural humanity. They think, if Christ has normal humanity and performs no signs or wonders, how can it be proved that he's God? In the hearts of antichrists, only the Spirit of God is God, and only a flesh that can show signs and wonders is God. If a flesh only possesses normal humanity and does not perform signs and wonders, then even if he can express the truth, he is not considered God. Therefore, it's not surprising that antichrists always doubt the essence of God incarnate. No matter how many things happen to them, the type of person who is an antichrist never tries to address them by seeking the truth in God's words, much less tries to see things through God's words, which is wholly because they do not believe that every line of God's words is the truth. No matter how the house of God fellowships the truth, the antichrists remain unreceptive, and in consequence lack the correct attitude no matter what situation they are faced with. In particular, when it comes to how they approach God and the truth, the antichrists stubbornly refuse to put aside their notions. The God they believe in is a God that performs signs and wonders, a supernatural God. Any that can perform signs and wonders, be it Guanyin Bodhisattva, Buddha, or Mazu, they call gods. They believe that only those who can perform signs and wonders are gods that possess the identity of gods, and those who cannot, no matter how many truths they express, are not necessarily gods. They do not understand that expressing the truth is God's great power and almightiness. Instead, they think only performing signs and wonders is the great power and almightiness of gods. Therefore, regarding the practical work of God incarnate expressing the truth to conquer and save people, watering, shepherding, and leading God's chosen people, enabling them to actually experience God's judgment, chastisement, trials, and refinement, and come to understand the truth, cast off their corrupt dispositions, and become people who submit to and worship God, and so on. Antichrists consider all this to be the work of man and not of God. In the minds of antichrists, gods should hide behind an altar and get people to make offerings to them, eating the foods that people offer, inhaling the smoke of the incense that they burn, extending a helping hand when they are in trouble, showing themselves to be very powerful and providing immediate assistance to them within the bounds of what is understandable to them, and satisfying their needs when people ask for help and are earnest in their entreaties. To the Antichrists, only a God such as this is a true God. Everything that God does today, meanwhile, is met with the Antichrist's disdain. And why is that? Judging by the nature essence of the Antichrists, what they require is not the work of watering, shepherding, and salvation that the Creator performs upon the created beings, but prosperity and the fulfillment of their aspirations in all things, to not be punished in this life, and to go to heaven in the world to come. Their point of view and needs confirm their essence of hatred for the truth. Antichrists love wickedness, the supernatural, and miracles, and even worship the actions and devilish words of Satan and evil spirits, which are negative and wicked things, as divine and as the truth. They take these as the objects of their lifelong worship and pursuit, and as things that should be esteemed and propagated in the world. Consequently, their notions and views about God's identity will never change while they are following God. If such people cannot accomplish their ambitions in God's house, if they aren't promoted or used and fail to achieve swift and great success, they will be ready to betray God at any time, moment, and place. Some of these people have believed for 10 years, some for 20, and you would think that they had a foundation and wouldn't leave God. But in reality, they are ready to betray God and return to the secular world at any time. Even if they don't leave the church, their hearts have already strayed from and betrayed God. Whenever circumstances allow or opportunities arise, they will go and believe in false gods and evil spirits. If they have the chance to gain meteoric success, to become a high official, to become famous, and to enjoy glory and wealth, they will not hesitate to leave the church and follow the trends of the secular world. Some antichrists question, if he is God, why does he suffer persecution and pursuit by the great red dragon? If he is God, why doesn't he display signs and wonders to annihilate the great red dragon? So many of God's chosen people have been captured and persecuted by the great red dragon. Why doesn't God protect and rescue them from the persecution of Satan? It's just like how the Pharisees of Judaism thought. If Jesus is God, why could he be crucified? Why couldn't he save himself? Antichrists never understand this because they do not accept the truth, nor do they believe that God's words will bring everything to pass. They only believe what they see, and they do not have faith in the value or significance demonstrated by all the work God has done. They do not believe that every word God expresses is the truth, and that each of his words will be fulfilled and brought to pass. They do not believe that God's wisdom is exercised based on Satan's schemes, or that God uses the great red dragon to render service as a foil that reveals his almightiness and wisdom. They do not believe that God is sovereign over everything, and that God's words bring everything to pass. So are antichrists still believers in God? They are not. Antichrists are people who deny and resist God. They are pure disbelievers. What primary reasons lie behind the refusal of antichrists to acknowledge God's identity. One is that God does not rectify all the unfairness in the world, administer justice for mankind, or immediately punish those who do evil, as antichrists imagine that he should in their notions. Many unfair events happen every day among all the things that God holds sovereignty over. And yet God seems indifferent to this and does not speak a single word or do a single thing in response. In the eyes of antichrists, everything they see happening in the world within the scope of the things that they encounter does not fit with their notions and should not occur. Why do they think these things shouldn't occur? They think, if God exists, why doesn't he attend to these things? If God exists, why do so many evil people still live well? Why do the rich get richer and the poor poorer? Why do rich people eat lavish meals every day and enjoy themselves so much, while so many still have to beg for food? Why are guileless people bullied, oppressed, and exploited? Why do some people labor and sweat, working over 8 hours a day for such little pay, while others make more in an hour than one could earn in a lifetime? Why doesn't God address these societal and worldly injustices? Why are some born with silver spoons in their mouths, while others are born into poverty and exhaustion? Why are some people able to enjoy glory and wealth, and the doting love of their families for their whole lives, while others cannot, when they were born in the same social environment? These are eternally unsolvable puzzles in the hearts of antichrists. They think that since they believe in God, they ought to hand over to God all the things they can't see through to and don't understand, and all these puzzles they can't solve, and get him to provide the solutions, and that they should find answers to them in God's words. However, after believing in God for 3 to 5 years, they aren't able to find these answers. And after believing for 8 to 10 years, they still can't find them. After they have believed for 20 years, they wonder, why have I still not gotten any answers? Why hasn't God solved these issues? Why doesn't God act like Guanyin Bodhisattva or the Jade Emperor? God has authority and power and the identity of God, so he should be doing these things. Especially in the church, why do evil people often appear and cause disruptions and disturbances, with some even stealing offerings without suffering any consequences? Some people often lie, and some spread notions and rumors without suffering God's discipline or punishment. Others stop believing in God abruptly and go to work in society, and after a few years, they become wealthy without ever falling on hard times. Some believers live worse lives than people who don't believe in God. In fact, believers in God are suffering, and many of them are being persecuted, unable to return to their homes and living in poverty and misery. Surely this isn't the meaning of believing in God? Surely this isn't the value of following God? Surely this isn't the day-to-day life that God wants to give people? When people encounter things they cannot accomplish, why doesn't God do something extraordinary to make them understand and get it immediately? There are many things which people don't understand and do not know why God acts the way he does. Why doesn't God light a lamp to brighten people's hearts? Why doesn't He give people inspiration? When people commit evil and cause disruptions and disturbances, God doesn't stand up and curse those evil people directly and make them face retribution. I haven't seen many instances of God doing such things. Sometimes people need God's enlightenment, illumination, and provision. So why can't they feel or see God? Where is God? All whys such as these remain unanswered in the hearts of antichrists. They do not understand why these things and phenomena never change, turn around, and much less improve. They think that believing in God should transform people entirely, and that their entire lives, mental outlooks, thoughts, and especially their quality of life and their abilities and talents should all develop in a positive direction. Why can't they see these changes after 10 or 20 years of observation? The things people fantasize about or dream of in their notions are never resolved or realized after they come to believe in God. So, what is the meaning of believing in God? What is the value of believing in and following God? These questions remain unresolved and unanswered in the hearts of antichrists, and they are not realized or fulfilled as antichrists imagine they will be. So the God that antichrists have in mind never exists. And naturally, the one who possesses the identity of God is forever denied in the minds of antichrists. There's too much adulteration in antichrists' belief in God. In reality, antichrists do not truly believe in God. It's all a pretense. They believe in God just as non-believers worship devils and idols. They find everything God does difficult to accept, and they are always harboring doubts and questions. They hide these doubts and questions in their hearts and do not dare to voice them. And they are also adept at pretending. So no matter how many years they believe in God, they remain out-and-out disbelievers. They measure God and all of His actions with their fantasies, their various imaginings and notions about God, as well as some traditional human knowledge and notions of morality. They use these things to measure God's identity and whether or not He exists. And what is the final result? They deny the existence of God and do not acknowledge the identity and essence of God incarnate. Isn't the standard by which antichrists measure whether God incarnate possesses the identity and essence of God wrong? Plainly speaking, antichrists revere knowledge and famous great figures, so they never have objections or any aversion toward things that come from these famous great figures. So, why do they despise Christ when they see He is a normal and regular person, and begin to feel aversion and hatred when they see Christ express so many truths? It's because what they revere and adore is not at all positive. Not a single bit of it is. What do antichrists like? They like bizarreness, wickedness, miracles, and supernatural things, while the normalness and practicality of God, God's genuine love for man, God's wisdom, faithfulness, holiness, and righteousness are all condemned in the eyes of antichrists. For example, in order for the brothers and sisters to develop discernment and practically learn a lesson, God orchestrated a situation. What situation was it? he arranged for someone who had been possessed by a demon to live among them. At the start, this person's way of speaking and doing things was normal, as was his reason. He did not appear problematic at all. But after a period of contact, the brothers and sisters discovered that everything he said was nonsensical and lacking in proper structure and order. Later, certain supernatural things occurred. He would always tell the brothers and sisters he had seen this or that vision and obtained such and such revelation. One day, for example, it was revealed to him that he must make steamed buns. He had to. And the day after that, as it happened, he needed to go out. So he took the buns with him. Later, it was revealed to him in a dream that he must head south. There was someone waiting for him 6 miles away. He went to look, and right there was a person who had gotten lost. He testified to this person about God's work of the last days, and they accepted it. He was always gaining revelation. He was always hearing a voice. Supernatural things were always happening to him. Each day, when it came to what to eat, where to go, what to do, who to interact with, he did not follow the laws of normal human life. Nor did he seek the words of God as a basis or principle, or seek out people to fellowship with. He always relied on his feelings and waited for a voice, or a revelation, or a dream. Was this person normal? There seemed to be regular patterns to the 3 meals he ate a day, and to his daily routine, yet he was always hearing voices. Some people discerned him and said that these were manifestations of the possession of an evil spirit. The brothers and sisters grew discerning of him little by little, until one day he suffered a flare-up of mental illness, began saying crazy things, and ran away naked and with his hair all disheveled, psychotic. With that, the matter finally came to a conclusion. Don't the brothers and sisters now have insight into and discernment of the specific manifestations of an evil spirit at work and demonic possession? Of course, some of them had encountered such things before and already possessed discernment of them, while others had not believed in God for a long time and had not been through such things and were therefore likely to be misled. But regardless of whether they were misled or had discernment, if God had not arranged this environment, could they have true discernment of the work or possession of an evil spirit? So just what was the purpose and significance of God arranging this environment and doing these things? It was to enable them to practically gain discernment and learn a lesson, and know how to discern those who have the work of evil spirits or who have been possessed by demons. If people were just told what the work of an evil spirit is, like when a teacher teaches from a book and just speaks about textbook theories without getting their students to do any actual exercises or training, people would only understand some doctrines and statements. You can only clearly explain just what the work of an evil spirit is and what the specific manifestations of it are when you have personally witnessed it, seen it with your own eyes, and heard it with your own ears. And then when you encounter such people again, you will be able to discern them and reject them. You will be able to properly address and handle such matters. So, isn't what you gain in such an environment much more practical than what you gain from attending gatherings and listening to sermons all day? People who possess normal thinking and rationality and pursue the truth will have a correct understanding of the ways that God does these things. They won't complain, saying, "Why does God allow evil spirits to appear in the church? Why didn't God warn me in advance? Why doesn't He cleanse away the evil spirits?" They will not complain about these things. Instead, they will be thankful, praising God for His excellent and wise work, and saying that God loves man so much. However, antichrists do not accept the truth, and at the same time, their hearts are filled with notions and imaginings about God. Plus, they really worship devils and idols in their hearts, and they compare and measure everything that the true God does against their idols. So, when encountering such situations, they first wonder, is this the work of God? How can you be so stupid? How could God allow evil spirits to appear in the church? Isn't this a mistaken understanding? First, they deny this is God's work and also think, a God definitely wouldn't do this. Gods don't want people to suffer. When Guanyin Bodhisattva sees people suffering, her statues shed tears. She wishes to deliver all beings from torment, bring every person under the name of the Buddha, and relieve them from all the suffering of the human world. Gods should be compassionate, caring for their chosen people, and not allow evil spirits to appear in the church. This certainly cannot be God's doing. Once such things happen, in the hearts of antichrists, they first doubt God's identity even more, and are at the same time unwilling to accept God's deeds 100, 1,000 times over, and even judge and condemn them. They also mock the brothers and sisters who accept this matter from God, saying, "You fools still believe everything is God's doing. A God would not act like this. A God should protect and care for His lambs and shield them with His hands. Gods are refuges for people. People should not suffer all these hardships. All negative and bad things should not happen to people. That's how gods work." Antichrists' hearts are filled with doubts, denials, notions, and condemnation of God. Consequently, whatever God does, in their eyes, is wrong and not what God should do. And it is evidence and leverage for them to condemn and deny God. In this, the Antichrist's nature essence of resisting God is completely revealed. For instance, when brothers and sisters endure the CCP's torture and persecution, the police heat electric branding irons until they are red hot and press them against their bodies, which causes so much pain that they faint and makes the blood of everyone present run cold. What do antichrists think upon seeing this scene? These Satans and devils are too cruel. They have no humanity, no pity or compassion. Their methods are too brutal. I can't bear to watch. If I were there, I would cool the branding irons, turn them into cotton, and let them touch people's bodies gently, warmly, and softly, like the hand of a God caressing His lambs, making people feel His compassionate heart, His love and warmth, and inspiring more faith and determination in them to follow him. But human beings are just human beings. We are powerless to do anything while watching our brothers and sisters and fellow human beings suffer so much. And where is God? Why doesn't God stop the hands of these Satans and devils at this moment? Why doesn't he cool the red-hot branding irons? When the branding irons touch the brothers and sisters, why doesn't God make them feel no pain? If it were Guanyin Bodhisattva, she would definitely do this. She doesn't want to see living beings abusing and killing each other. She doesn't want to see any of them suffer even a bit of bullying or pain. She keeps all beings in mind. Her heart is broader than the sky, and her love is boundless. That's truly a God. Why doesn't God act like this? I'm not a God. I don't have this ability. If I were a God, I wouldn't let my people suffer like this. No matter what befalls them, Antichrists have their own views, assertions, opinions, and even brilliant ideas. No matter what happens to them, they never link it to God's words. They never seek the truth to understand God, to bear witness to God, to confirm God's identity, to confirm where and how the essence of God who possesses the identity of God is expressed. Antichrists do not practice in this way. Instead, at every turn they measure and compete with God using the perspectives of Satan, of various evil spirits, or of Guanyin Bodhisattva and Buddha. What's the final result of this? Antichrists deny God at every turn, denying his actions and essence, the meaning and value of everything he does, and how it edifies people. They deny the effect that God intends to achieve on people by working in this way, and the existence of God's intentions. By denying the significance and value of all God does, aren't Antichrists denying God's identity? These manifestations and essence of Antichrists, the thoughts they reveal, and the anger, demands, dissatisfaction, and questions they have about God when things befall them, and so on, are all concrete manifestations of Antichrists not acknowledging God's identity. These are the facts. What essence of Antichrists did you observe through the fellowship and dissection we just did about the manifestations and sources of Antichrist's denial of God's identity? Can you observe that Antichrists are cynical about this world and love fairness and righteousness? Are Antichrists people who possess kind humanity, compassion, mercy, great love, and a hatred of wickedness? Then what sort of people are Antichrists?
They are evil people who hate and are averse to the truth, who antagonize God at every turn.
That's one aspect. What else? Don't Antichrists quite approve of the societal saying, building bridges and repairing roads lead to blindness, while murderers and arsonists ensure that their offspring multiply? Does this not mean that they are lamenting the state of the world and pitying mankind? What is the nature of them agreeing with this saying? Doesn't this saying contain something of a complaint about the injustice of heaven? Although they can't do anything about it, Antichrists harbor such resentment and emotions and complain that heaven is unjust. Isn't it said that heaven is fair and that heaven has eyes? then why do those who do good in this world not reap rewards, while evil people prosper? Where is the fairness in this world? How did the matters of unfairness in this world come about? It's because heaven is blind and unfair. The implicit meaning in this is that there is no fairness with God, and that only Buddha and Guanyin are fair. Therefore, Antichrist's hearts are filled with resentment, complaint, denial, and condemnation about the things that the real God does. What causes all this? What is the reason for it? It is caused by the essence of Antichrists. What essence is this? To put it in specific terms, Antichrist's hearts are full of notions and imaginings about the definition of a God. They do not know or understand how exactly the real God works and saves people. Their evaluation of everything God does is based on their own notions and imaginings. And what are these based on? They are entirely based on the various heresies and fallacies instilled in mankind by the devil King Satan. No matter how wicked or biased these heresies and fallacies are, they accord with people's notions, psychological requirements, and emotional needs. And it's precisely these things that become Antichrist standards for comporting themselves and measuring all things, as well as their standard for measuring God. Antichrists are wrong at their very root. Another more important reason is that Antichrists like power and things of grandeur. For example, say that a person is born in a palace and enjoys top-notch treatment every day, eating the best food and wearing the best clothes, not needing to do anything, and getting whatever they want. Do people who believe in God pursue this kind of life? A normal person will feel a tiny bit of envy or jealousy, but then they will think, this is all ordained by God. Wherever God places us, that's where we live. That kind of life won't necessarily suit us. Can one believe in God in such an environment? Can one understand the truth and be saved? That would be difficult. What God gave us is enough. As long as we can believe in God and are in the right conditions to read God's words, do our duty, and ultimately attain salvation, that's the most joyous thing. But would Antichrists think like this? They would think, why wasn't my father an emperor? If my father were a rich man or an emperor, my life would really be worth living. Why is his father an emperor? Why does he live a carefree life, not worrying about food or clothing, getting whatever he wants, with money and power always at his command? Heaven is unfair. He's not that capable, and he doesn't have any talent, education, or brains. On what basis did he get all these things? Why can't I get them? If I can't get those things, and others can, I'll hate them. And if I can't hate them, I'll hate heaven for being unfair and for arranging a bad fate for me. And I'll hate my bad luck, hate the vile person blocking my way, and hate the bad feng shui of my house. What is going through their minds? Once hatred arises in the hearts of antichrists, all sorts of fallacious arguments can come out of their mouths. On the surface, antichrists seem so benevolent. But the fact is that none of the things they worship and pursue are positive. The proverbs and sayings they preach may sound like they're lamenting the state of the world and pitying mankind, and like they harbor goodwill in their hearts. But in fact, they are out-and-out devils and Satans. If they gain power and rise up in this world, are they capable of doing evil? Are they capable of being good people? They are scoundrels full of heinous sins. Because they can't gain power and aren't prospering much in the world, they feel a bit wronged and then come to believe in and follow God. However, in essence, they don't want to pursue the truth at all, and they especially don't love positive things. Instead, they are averse to positive things and love evil forces, power, luxurious living, and the evil trends of the world. Therefore, they disdain everything expressed and done by God, who possesses God's identity and essence, and they condemn, judge, and slander these things. No matter how valuable or meaningful God's work is for people, they neither acknowledge nor accept it. Not only do they not accept God's identity and essence, but they also want to impersonate a God, pretending to be a savior who can deliver all beings from suffering, who can ensure that those who build bridges and repair roads don't go blind, that murderers and arsonists are punished and cannot have descendants who multiply, and that the people at the bottom rung of society and enduring suffering no longer suffer and have a place to redress their grievances. They want to eliminate all the pain in the world and rescue people from misery. Antichrists really do harbor universal love and an infinite great love in the depths of their hearts. After all is said and done, what exactly is the reason behind Antichrists not acknowledging God's identity and essence? They say, no matter what God does, He's not like a God. I'm the most like a God. I'm most qualified to be a God. This is because what God does doesn't suit my tastes or accord with the tastes and needs of the masses. Only I can understand the needs and minds of the masses. Only I can deliver all beings from suffering, and only I can be the savior of mankind. Their ambitions and essence have been exposed, haven't they? What exactly is the true form of antichrists who possess such ambitions and essence? It's the archangel, the devil Satan. They deny God's identity and don't believe in God's existence because they want to be a God themselves. They believe that their thoughts are what a God should think, and that their manifestations, disposition, and essence of great love are what a God should possess. They think that only someone who possesses a mindset of lamenting the state of the world and pitying mankind upon seeing all the injustices in the world is a God. They think that the God they believe in doesn't have these qualities, that only they are of such a mind and such a big heart, possessing this kind of virtue and great love. This is the essence of antichrists, the various manifestations and essence of their refusal to acknowledge God's identity. Therefore, if you revere antichrists as gods and worship them, they won't feel resentment toward you. If you follow them, saying that their identity and essence are those of gods, that they have the same mind and great love as Buddha, and that they are God's, they will be happy and completely satisfied with you. This is the essence of antichrists. Isn't this essence that antichrists display wicked? No matter how you extol God's name and His wonderful deeds, and testify for everything God has done, and the prices He has paid for the salvation of man, they will be defiant at heart, saying, "I can't compliment this. I don't see it that way." That's all human wishful thinking and imagination. When you testify for God, His wisdom, His almightiness, His painstaking intention to save humanity, and the prices He has paid, and you testify for His essence, His identity, and everything that the Creator has done on mankind, only one kind of person feels uneasy, and that is antichrists. And what do they think? Why do you always talk about God? I've also watered and supported you a lot. I've loved you, helped you, bought you medicine when you were sick, and supported you, fellowshipped with you, and accompanied you when others abandoned you. Why don't you praise me? As soon as someone testifies for or praises God, antichrists feel upset and hate them out of envy. What do normal believers in God feel when they hear God being praised by someone? First, they will say amen to what that person said, and to the experiential testimony they fellowshipped. In addition, they will listen carefully, thinking, God acted in that way upon them. God is so great. He truly loves man. I will seek the truth too if I encounter similar situations in the future. They hurt God by acting in that way. I have also acted in that way in the past. I was just unaware of it. I am indebted to God. God acting in this way is beneficial to people, and I didn't realize it. It seems my stature is smaller than this person's. My understanding is not pure, and my caliber is poor. I pray for God to enlighten and guide me, the small in stature person that I am. How did they not become weak when facing trials? They had the guidance of God's words. If I were facing such circumstances, I would become weak and might even stumble. God has shown me kindness by noticing my small stature and not making me face that kind of situation yet. Everything God does is good. But antichrists are unhappy when they hear this. What? Everything God does is good? Where is this goodness? If everything God does is so good, why are people negative and weak? If everything God does is good, why are some people expelled? If everything God does is good, why are there always disruptions and disturbances in the course of spreading the gospel and doing duties? I have done so many good deeds. I have exerted myself, made offerings, and gained people when preaching the gospel. Why doesn't anyone praise me? Why hasn't God given me something in return, some reward? If people feel embarrassed praising me to my face, it's okay if they just do it behind my back. Why doesn't anyone praise or commend me? Don't I have any merits? They become upset. If someone praises an ordinary person, antichrists will not feel much. But as soon as someone testifies for God's great power, great love, and wisdom, or for God's identity, Antichrists feel hatred and jealousy. Whenever anyone is willing to submit to God, to be a proper created being, and be a person who does not overstep their bounds and submits under the dominion of the Creator, Antichrists don't like this, saying, "Why do you so willingly and actively submit to God? Why is it so hard for you to listen to anything I say? What I say isn't wrong." They like people to be their followers, praising them at every turn, keeping their names on their lips, keeping them in their hearts, even dreaming about their goodness and strengths, and praising them to everyone they meet. If they fall ill and don't show their faces, people will say, "What do we do without you? Without you, we are scattered. We can't continue believing or go on living." If Antichrists heard this, they'd be overjoyed, and to hear it, they'd be willing to endure any suffering or go days without eating or sleeping. But if no one praises them, takes them as a role model, worships them, or takes them seriously, they feel upset and harbor hatred in their hearts. This is a typical Antichrist. In short, Antichrists will never acknowledge God's identity. They don't accept God's identity and essence, much less the work done on them by the one who possesses God's identity and essence. Nor do they acknowledge or accept all the work God has done among mankind.